And hello, welcome to the show. This is your
Hello.
host, Neon Poison. Hi, we welcome back our co-hosts, Aegea and Captain Harlock. Welcome back, guys.
Hello, hello.
Glad to be back.
All right. And we have two great and powerful guests joining us today. They are the senior military commanders of the Golden Horde, Mr. Raw and Mr. Storm.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. All right, let's begin with Raw. Talk about your how did you join the Alliance and talk about your Corp USSF?
So I had heard that Eve Echoes was becoming a thing, and I decided to join. And then I had jumped into a few corporations that just seemed like it had no leadership and no real direction. So I started looking into what the requirement was for that. Eventually, I ended up making my own. And then we found a little place in low sec, decided to try and get into goons because I'm an old goon, and quickly realized that goons were kind of spread thin and didn't really seem like they had a whole lot of organization in Eve Echoes. So we started scouting. I had myself and my second in command roaming around nullsec, seeing what kind of groups there were, where people were, and what was going on with that. And we ended up finding Valhalla. Awesome. I had no idea who Valhalla was. I had no idea anything about them. And then finally found their Discord and started talking to the people that I needed to talk to get in. Mm-hmm. And they were mentioning names like Excoundrel and Captain Benzie, and I had no clue who that was. I was like, okay, so we'll go from here. And during interview process, we started talking about my history in EVE Online, mm-hmm. and the fact that I was fleet commander for a while. And they had exclaimed that because it was at the beginning of, the whole game and they were working on that they needed a military commander. So that was my buy-in. That was what I got my corporation in.
Cool.
So we got in to help the military wing.
Okay, and USSF stands for, at first I thought it was Space Force, but then it's what does it stand for?
Space Farce. It's the United States Space Farce.
That's funny. Okay, thank you. We'll come back to you in a second. Again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And next,
thanks for having me.
Storm. Yeah, how did you join Valhalla? And just tell us about yourself, please.
Well, it was basically the first day of Eve Echoes. Just created my character, and it was this mission that you have to join a corporation. So I started to look around, and I found Valhalla and Vikings. And since I am from Norway, I thought that was a perfect opportunity for me to be a true Viking. So I started talking to Bo and basically told him that I wanted to be part of the indie group and have the chance to do some PvP, since PvP is my history in EVE Online.
Sure.
But then he asked me some questions and I answered him and said, if you need advice, just come look me up and I will answer them to the best of my ability. 2 weeks later, I was the leader of the Valhalla military. So, and that was basically how I am where I am today.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, we'll talk more about your FC background later. Thank you again. Welcome. So let's start. Yeah, let's go back to Raw for our announcement that we saw a couple of days ago about recent military evolution, unquote. So our military is supposedly moving into a committee model. Can you guys tell us more, please? Let's start with Raw.
So we are reforming the military into a more board-directed military. It allows for expansion, it allows for layering, and it's going to benefit when we start moving into different places other than just Geminate and Cache.
Yeah.
The basic breakdown of it is that you'll have the three heads of the board, and then we will have what was the name that we decided upon for? It was the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? So we're going to have a Joint Chiefs of Staff. Each Chief of Staff is going to be the heads of each star system. So Cache is going to have a Joint Chief, and Geminate is going to have a Joint Chief. And then when we expand to other places, they are also going to be promoted into a Joint Chief position. And then we will have a Joint Chiefs of Staff that will be making all of the military decisions for all joint operations. So each of the Joint Chiefs have responsibility to their own star system, and then they create their own defense, their own military, based off of a standard that we are going to provide them. And then all joint operations are going to be held between all of the Joint Chiefs. So they are going to be responsible for their area, their defense, and their military based off of what guidelines that we give them. And then the entire military as a whole will be able to work together for joint operations.
Wow. Sounds amazing. Anything to add, Storm?
No, it's basically we make it more simple for people to understand who do I need to contact to get anything done. Where do I apply? Who do I talk to get approval, and who do I follow into battle? It's just to make the system more easy to follow and easy to come by.
Right. And just to add that, you mentioned, or Raw mentioned, there's three of you. I mean, Haiyu is the third one, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. We are the three admirals of the Golden Horde military.
Right. And Haiyu is at work right now. He couldn't join us, but he will talk to us next time, maybe.
Hopefully.
Captain and Avalia, do you guys have any questions about what we just talked about, the new format?
Questions? No.
That's fine.
No,
Okay.
I don't have questions.
Just jump in when, yeah. Okay, let's go to the next topic. On our last show, Bo talked to us about the importance of putting players first as part of our culture. I wonder what's your perspective on that from the military side. Let's start with Raw again. So what do you think about this player first culture that we're trying to build?
This player first culture is definitely prevalent in the military sector. Without the players, we don't have a military. Without the players, we don't have friends and comrades that we go into battle with. I mean, that's kind of what this game is about, because it sure as hell ain't about the game. The game as it stands right now is, in my opinion, hardly playable compared to other forms of these types of games. EVE by itself is a different type of game. And it's not about the game. It's about the players. I didn't make a corporation just to, be a leader and use them to my advantage to get where I need to be. It was, I wanted a group of people that I could work together and build a camaraderie with. And without them, I wouldn't have a corporation. And you can see that it's very prevalent in corporations that don't have that kind of mindset, that they just dissolve, they disappear. I've had multiple people from other corporations say that their entire corporation dissolved because it was all about the leadership and they didn't want to hear the opinions of the people. And if you lose that friendship, if you lose that mentality of we're here to meet people. We're here to play a game together. We're here to build relationships and become effective and win and lose together.
Yeah.
Without that player first mentality, you don't have a corporation. You don't have a game.
Well said. Storm?
Oi. Well, I think what Raw said now pretty much covers it all. This game is built on social relations, and to keep those social relations, you need to have the complete player base, not just a few ones. Then you will drown very, very fast.
Yeah. I mean, working in recruiting myself, I talked to so many players who, coming from other alliances, other corporations. Yeah, like Ross said, it's we're definitely different. Making this player first. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning and talk more lighter, more personal stuff. Why did you become an FC and how? Let's start with Storm this time. So we'll go back to EVE Online.
How I become an FC?
Yes.
I think that was during my days in faction warfare when I started up there. And people were more or less clueless on how, why, and when. It was a new type of combat because you could fight on your terms all the way. If you only wanted to fight with small ships, you had small pockets that hold stations, which you had to beat the countdown on. You had to stay in this pocket for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, depending on what type of pocket it was. And while you were in there, you had to defend this place, because if an enemy or a different faction come into you, the timer stops and you had to kill them. And people, we used some time to figure out how the system worked. And we would discuss in tactics and such things. And I think that was my first experience as an FC.
Sure.
I just picked up the loose ends and started to work against a common goal with this new faction warfare that was launched into the game.
Yeah. For people who don't know how that works, do you have pre-made teams, or do you have is it just random teammates when you go into that faction?
In faction warfare, it's more like you have all that is listed for faction warfare. They have their own in-game channel where everyone with that tag is at any given time. You can't close that one, like you can't close the local. And you made alliances and corporations inside that pocket or inside this faction warfare, and you listed your corporation or the entire alliance up to faction warfare. And you had NPC corporation that also was listed for faction warfare, and we started off there, and we gathered up and fall down many times. And then in 2009, I think it was, we started a corporation called Calibrated Chaos, with Leet as tag. And with that corporation and the leadership that we put together there, and the player base we collected, we beat faction warfare. We won it. So,
that's awesome.
That was my first experience as a FC. I think it was in 2006, 2007 or something.
Thank you. And Raw? How and why did you become an FC?
So to reiterate the question, how and why did I become an FC? I spent a very large portion of my early years in EVE Online in low sec. As an individual, I was a solo player. I didn't really have a whole lot of social aspect to it, and I chewed rocks most of the time. I didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on or how the entire game worked. I mean, at that point, I was, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So it was just getting on a game that kind of dropped you into space and didn't really tell you how to play it. So I think it was more of the adventure of figuring out how everything went. And eventually I found out who the goons were and ended up applying into the goons. And it was more of a militaristic progression from there. The Imperium has this vast database of information.
Sure.
They have research upon research of just straight forums of how the game is played, what each ship does, how to operate, how to be a fleet commander, how to be a bomber wing, how to be an interceptor. All of it was there. So I tended to spend a lot of my time while I was chewing rocks studying. And eventually I got to the point where I started joining the training sessions for the fleet commander operations. And then I became a fleet commander and took out as many fleets as I could and lost many ships and whelped many of those fleets and eventually started learning from it. And I got to the point where I eventually got into a capital ship. And that's a whole different section, a whole different required amount of skills and required actual personal skills that you have to learn how to fly these things. And again, it was just a militaristic progression from there. And I enjoyed the ability to take my comrades into battle and become effective and get to that point where people enjoyed my fleets. We're going to go back to the people first thing. Even in Goons, it was we're not ruining the game, we're just ruining your game. And we did that quite well, and that was what was fun to us. So the people first perspective on that was it was fun to ruin other people's games together.
Agreed. And do you have go ahead.
In the early days of Goon, it was just like I didn't join up with Goon until I think it was 2013 or something like that. But I didn't know Goon as we just have a bunch of people and we give you a ship and say go there and shoot that up mentality. We have numbers, we have money, we can blow up anyone. That was how the world were looking at Goon for many years.
Sure. I guess I was the earliest Goon. I guess started way early during our Warlords ball, and so at that time it was different. We were doing everything, including combat, but we did so much other things to defeat our enemies, and which we continue to do. Like all the behind the scenes spying, sabotaging, all kinds of fun stuff. So let's tell some stories, right? EVE is a game about stories. Let's go back to Raw. Any stories, interesting stories that you can share with us from any one of the fleets you've had or you've FC'd?
This is actually not so much on the FC side of it, but it is a pretty interesting story. So in EVE Online, they added these NPCs. They added a different kind of, they didn't even really add the faction. They just added a different dynamic to the NPCs. A lot of people would remember that ore started mining in our belts, which is something that, it was a little bit different. They had NPC miners coming to our belts, stealing our rocks. And, being part of the security fleet, I used to sit in my capital ship and just sit and in the mining fields and wait for people to show up. So, one day I was curious and I was like, man, these guys are targetable. Let's shoot them. So I ended up shooting the ore mining fleet and got a pretty substantial response. For the people who remember, it was basically every ship was elite and they responded based on the size of ship you have. So being in a capital or sometimes a super capital and poking the bear, I got a pretty substantial response fleet to that. And if you've ever sitting in a capital ship or a super cap, they survive. They have a lot of survivability. You get to surmise your death for at least 30 minutes before you actually die. So during that time I'm calling all the bells and trying to get all of the security response out there to save this ship. And it was at the time it was something that we didn't even know because it was brand new to the game. They just implemented it, so we didn't even know what kind of abilities that these NPCs had, and it was very substantial. They were painful. But eventually and the thing about it was if you could warp away, you could get away, but they would follow you.
Oh.
And exactly. If you had a dead space warp somewhere, a bookmark, you could warp to that bookmark, which is what I tried to do. And then they started landing on grid with me. And I was just flabbergasted at the advancement of this AI and the fact that they were hitting me with some of the hardest hits in the game, and we didn't really know what was going on. So eventually I got enough people and we actually had to call a capital response for NPCs, and at the time that was unheard of. We didn't know what was going on, so we actually had to get the capital fleet security response team out there so that we could save this one ship. But we prevailed.
NPCs. That's funny. I did not know.
I remember all.
Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah. Most memorable moment in EVE Online. Well, there were many. One particular fleet. I wasn't FC for that. One particular fleet, I was very impressed because it was my introduction to pipe bombing, and the coordination and the skill needed to actually do this was it blew me away. First time I ever saw it and participated on it. We took down a large fleet of capitals in it was less than a minute, I think. We had over 100 stealth bombers.
Yeah.
And bombs in EVE Online, for those who don't know it, functions another way than the bombs in EVE Echoes, because we don't have bombs. But a bomb in EVE Online, a stealth bomber in EVE Online has a very special feature where you can drop a bomb that you don't have to target anything. You just drop it and it flies in a straight route, either to the flight timer is out or it hits something. And then it is the only thing that only range weapon that do AoE damage. So how you do this, you line up the fleet on a straight line, and a straight line, and a straight line, and you wait like 10 seconds between every wave, 5 seconds between every wave. You warp in, you drop your bomb, and you warp out. If you then don't get out, you're dead. Period. So within, I think it was 30, 40 seconds, we had I think it was some capital ships. I can't remember the exact number right now, but they were blown away. They didn't stand a chance. So you warp off, you warp against target, you land, you drop your bomb, and you warp off. And you drop your bomb. So I can't explain it on a better way, but it was a fantastic show. I was in wave 4. So when I landed, the second wave's bombs were landing on the fleet. It was just this amazing explosion. Just hit the button and get out, or you get lost.
Yeah.
You get blown up by the next wave.
Yeah.
Because if you stand in the way of that wave, the bomb will hit you.
Yeah.
Instead of the enemy. So that was the most fantastic thing I ever done. I think it completely blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're coordinating so many bombers, like you said, how many? Like 100 bombers, right?
I think in that particular fleet, my first fleet, we were about 100, between 90 and 100 people.
Yeah, to think about, no two people can do it at the same time. Right? It's a few seconds, 10 seconds apart, and in a straight line, everybody hitting the same, direction, target. I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah.
So how does bomb work in Echoes? We don't have bombs.
We don't have
bombs.
Yeah, there are bombers, but no bombs. So it's just a ship.
A torp bombers, right, for siege fleet.
That's not even bomb. We don't have bombs.
Kinda, not really. They operate in different ways. A bomb is basically a grenade on a ship, and you throw it in a direction, and it lands.
Yeah.
And then blows up. You don't have to target a ship. You just point in a direction and shoot, and that's what a bomb is. We don't have that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, look forward to that, because that's one of my favorite things to do as well. Just
maybe one day.
That's the real bomber. That we have in Eve Echoes now is torpedo boats with stealth motors.
Uh-huh. Do you guys know if they're implementing real bombs in the plans?
They seem to like to. They like to take the names of things that were real in Eve and use the name and then completely change how it works and what it does.
I can tell you how they'll answer if you ask them that question. There is no plans. We have no idea. Yes.
That's, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. To be determined.
I see you. I see you have a lot of experience with devs.
Nah,
Yeah.
She loves the devs. She loves the devs.
Alpha tester, beta tester. Ugh.
Oh wow.
I speak to a lot of different types of devs. I am a developer myself, but
Okay.
for just the sheer lack of communication that they have with us is appalling for the entire game.
Is it because they're based in?
I just hope.
Sorry, are they based in?
You
in
think it's
States?
because they're China?
Yeah, are they based in?
I don't think that a lot of it has to do with their location. Their geolocation has nothing to do with their development or communication ability.
Hmm.
Through the videos that you've seen, they obviously can speak English, and even if they didn't do an English release, it could be translated. There are any number of people who play the game that would love to translate it for them. So speak in their language, get it translated so that everybody can see it. But it's just a lack of communication. It's not necessarily that they can't; it's that they don't.
Sure. Okay.
I get the feeling they might not have been prepared. Oh, my dog is awake and barking now. Because none of their other games, if you look at them, were ever successful at all. And so they hit on this idea and it just exploded. And I think they haven't, they opened a Pandora's box and now they don't know what to do with it. I could be wrong.
I think they joined into a player base that they didn't understand. They don't understand that the people who still play Eve today are most likely going to be your oldest diehard fans. I mean, we've been playing Eve for a very long time. Nobody ever quits Eve, by the way. We take breaks and then we get sucked back in somehow. And Eve Echoes was the way that I got sucked back in. Nobody ever quits Eve. That's how you win Eve, by the way. If you didn't know that, the way you win Eve is you stop playing.
So we all lost. In that
You have the time that you can actually lie Eve or New Eden away and never return to it. Then you have beaten the game.
Yeah.
So I think that they joined in on a player base that they didn't understand. They tried to understand the physics dynamic of the game that they didn't understand or still to this day don't understand. I think that their communications with CCP may be few and far between, maybe too few and too far between. And a lot of their ideas are good. However, they don't really have a testing group, right? This game has been in development for over 2 years.
Yeah.
They went through the beta test. The beta test UI, for instance, was completely different. So they tested one thing and then implemented another. And I don't think that their test group is sufficient enough or large enough that they're actually getting reliable data. So they're trying to implement things that may work in the future. I love the idea of taking Eve and adding new dynamic to it, which is what this is. This is Eve Lite, right? So they took different ideas that may work and then they try to implement it. But the problem is they have no pulse on the player base. They have no pulse on how the game is actually supposed to be balanced and working together, and how the ships are supposed to have that Rochambeau. And it's kind of coming to the point where you have a specific meta, you have a specific ship, you have a specific module, a single module that breaks the entire game that should have been fixed within days. And according to their last AMA, the answer was, we tried to fix it, it broke the game, we gave up.
Compared to EVE Online, wasn't there, what did you call these guys? So basically player base who had direct access to...
CSMs, Council of Stellar Management.
Yeah. So why don't they just copy this model? Right? It would clearly work for EVE Online.
I have been trying so hard to get them to get CSMs, to promote CSMs. I've every chance that I get made a suggestion that we need CSMs for Echoes.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know what a CSM is, it's basically a single point of contact for the player base. There was a group of them, and they each had their own different specializations in the game. If you had something about logistics or something about mining or something about whatever in the game, you could look up who your representative CSM would be. And as a player, you would be able to contact them and to have a discussion with them. They were, just as in politics, you can call your local leaders and talk to them about things that you think that need to be changed. And what that does is it filters out a lot of the things that shouldn't be discussed, a lot of especially Care Bear things where you just get a lot of people that gripe about losing their ship because the devs don't need to hear about that. They don't. They could care less. And that seems to be the voice that's the loudest right now, and that's what the devs are catering to. So the CSMs would be a filter for that. And most of the time, the CSMs understand the game. They understand the meta. They understand each ship and how it works, and each module and how it works, and how the market works and how it's supposed to balance, and how, if you release certain minerals here, how it's going to affect the global scheme of things, or the interstellar scheme of things. And the CSMs were who the developers went to when they wanted to change something, when they wanted to add something, when they wanted to introduce a different faction or a different ship or a different style of play or a different mining function. When they introduced moon mining, all of this went through the CSMs, and the CSMs would give them feedback, basically saying, this is going to break the game, this is great, I love this, however, and so forth. So with CSMs for Echoes, it would allow for the devs to have a more substantial feedback group as opposed to polling the audience, which is what's happening now.
Right. Yeah, I remember we had NoSec. I think Veli was one of the CSMs. Anywho, let's move on. We have quite a bit more topics to talk about. Let's talk about what would you say to the aspiring future FCs? What would you say is the best part or the most fun part of FC? Let's start with Storm.
The most fun part of being an FC?
Yeah.
Well, it's creating a continent to the other players, to be honest. It's not about leading them. It's more about making them understand why things are important, why you do certain things, what can you do to make content to other players. Like, for instance, just gather up some people and start roaming, look for targets, miners, whatever. And the fun about it is that, for me, is to learn other players how I do things.
You're a teacher.
And yeah, it's more to be a teacher and a leader at the same time. And with every fleet, I have a mission or a goal that someone in that fleet will learn something. And the learning curve inside this game is the flattest learning curve in any game. So you can play this for, like, I have played EVE for 15 years, and there is still some things that are new to me. Still some things that I need to understand from a different perspective. So you will never be fully educated in this game. And that is, I think, one of the beauties of this game. There's always something new.
It is.
And when you think you have figured it out, it just turns around and bites you in the ass. And you have to figure it out all over again because someone used it in another way that you didn't participate.
Sure.
So as long as you have a mindset that there is always something new, there's always another way to do things in this game, you will come a long way. So my goal in this game is to create the social aspect, have people to understand why the social around this game is important, and that you will never be fully educated how much you try.
Sure. Well,
the best part about FCing, or the most fun part, I'm an adrenaline junkie. And if there is another enemy ship on field with me, my adrenaline goes through the roof. Even today, I'm sure everybody in the game understands that if you get into a PvP scenario, and sometimes even in PvE scenarios, your heart starts thumping and you start getting that heightened sense of adrenaline, and then you go into battle. That's probably the funnest thing about being FC for me, is you get in that moment, and even, almost 20 years down the road, it's still prevalent. If I'm on the field with a miner and I'm in a huge ship, I'm still all giddy and, locked up. But over time, you get to the point where you can control that. It's not necessarily suppress it. You can't suppress it. It doesn't happen, but you control it and use it to better yourself. So I guess that would be the funnest part about being FC.
Awesome.
I believe one of the other questions in there was, what advice would you give future FCs or people who would like to become FCs?
Sure.
The answer to that would be, go out and lose ships. Go out and whelp a fleet. Go get in ships you've never been in before. Go, get a bunch of guys and group together and just go fly in places that you've never been before. Go lose ships because you learn by failure. You learn by what you shouldn't do next time. And the more that you do that, the more effective you'll become because you've done it before.
Yeah.
And you'll eventually get to the situation where you're taking smaller ships to destroy bigger objects and bigger ships, and you take less ability and destroy bigger things. So you can take a probe and go destroy a battleship, if you got enough damage on it. But without losing ships, without going out and whelping fleets, without figuring out what you can and can't do, especially in this game, in Echoes, it's new to all of us. A lot of things have laterals over to EVE Online, and that does kind of give a little bit of a boost to the people who played EVE Online. But for the most part, it's brand new to all of us. They have different modules, different ships, different Rochambeau of the entire meta. And until you go out there and figure out what you can and can't do, you're not going to get better. So for all the new FCs or people who would like to become FCs, go lose ships. Go take out a fleet. It doesn't have to be an official fleet. Go grab a bunch of guys that are willing to, go get a ship destroyed. It doesn't matter if you're in a Velator or a rookie ship. Just go out there and figure out what you can and can't do. And I can guarantee you, if you get a group of 10 guys in a Velator, you'll take out a couple of ships and it'll be fun in the process. Nice. And you'll learn things.
That's excellent advice. So, on the new FCs.
Well, that's the best advice, man. That's the best advice. I've been under lessons from both Storm and Raw. They're the best teachers, I can say. And most of the time they are like, we expect not to lose our ships. We go under that FC because we trust him. But my friend, if you don't lose a ship, you don't actually learn anything.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest barriers to getting into PvP is the fear factor. So if you talk to someone who hasn't done PvP, or they say that's not my thing, or it's because they're afraid to try. The fear factor is so large, and by putting yourself in a situation where you are going to lose, and you just accept that, you have to walk into your first fight saying, my ship is going to be blown up and that's okay. It helps you get past that fear factor. To Raw's point, the adrenaline, the rush, the anxiety never goes away. You learn to enjoy it instead of fear it. And that's the barrier. Once you get to where you enjoy it and you don't fear it, then you can be successful at PvP.
Embrace it. Embrace the fear. The fear is a good friend, actually.
Yeah.
The way I learned do PvP back in the days, I've been chewing rocks like a Care Bear in Isaac for nearly a year before I found out that I want to try a new aspect. So what I did, I fitted up a lot of Kestrels. That's a brawler frigate, Tech 1 brawler frigate from Caldari with missile system and shield boosting. I think I fitted up 40 of them, and before I got my first solo kill, I think I lost all of them. So it's a hard process, and you, like me back then, I didn't know what different ships, what I did. I didn't care before that time. So my first one-on-one battle with a Kestrel, Tech 1 Kestrel, was up against a Thorax. And it melted me, and I had no clue why. I didn't understand why. And
can you tell the audience why? Why can't the frigate go against the destroyer?
Why did it hit me so hard? Why does it have so much more hit point than me? Why don't I do damage on that thing? That was my thoughts, and then I started to to do some research on the different ships and how to use them. But I did learn by doing and go up against different type of ships. And I lost a lot of them, but I think that made me to the pilot I am today, with the mindset that whenever you undock with something, you don't dock up with it again because it's lost. Period. So
I think for me, I still remember every single ship I lost. That's not a good thing. That means I haven't lost enough.
Then you didn't lose so many.
I mean, it's billions, but still, not enough, right? Anyways, let's talk about the downside of FC. We've talked about the good sides, the fun part. How about the bad parts? Let's go back to Raw first. The not so pleasant part of FC, or your least favorite part.
For me, it's a bit different because I've been doing it for so long. But for especially new players, the worst part about FCing is when you lose ships. Even though that's the best thing that you could do to go out and learn, is it's hard to break that mentality or that thought process of I'm responsible for every ship in this fleet, and then you go whelp a fleet, and then you feel really bad about whelping that fleet. Well, you have to look at it the perspective that you provided an experience for these pilots. You provided a learning experience, especially for these pilots, and also yourself. And at the end of the day, it's pixels on a screen. They're just ships. Everybody started with no ships, and they were able to get them. So, with the help of a bunch of people, especially 5,000 of our closest friends, we'll get you into a different ship as a group, as a team. It's not going to hurt us if you go and lose a ship. So I think the worst part about being FC for a lot of players, especially, FCs in our alliance, I don't speak for them, but I can guarantee you that they feel bad when they lose ships. And it doesn't matter if we win the objective or not. We feel bad when it really hits home when we start seeing the death melts that come through, because then it starts reeling through our minds. What could have we done better to not lose a ship? And at the end of the day, nothing.
Right.
You can't not lose ships. It's going to happen. You're going to get in that situation where you're going to lose your entire fleet. You're going to lose every ship that you brought with you, and it's happened before, and it's going to happen again. And that's probably the worst feeling is FC, but it's also one of the most driving, for me at least. It drives me to become better. It drives me to learn what not to do. And every fleet that you whelp is another fleet that you're not going to later on.
Sure.
So I would have to say that's the worst part about being FC.
Sorry? Anything to add?
When you lose a battle, it is not just that you as an FC start thinking, what did I do wrong? But you have to fight against demoralization that has fallen upon your pilots as well. And you have to try to tell them that this happens, don't take it that hard. We learned something from this, hopefully. And as long as you've learned something, you have actually won the fleet with loss or victory. It doesn't matter. But it is that to take up that demoralizing aspect of it when you are FC, and try to motivate your pilot to try again on a later term. That can be pretty hard sometimes.
To sum it up, I think losing ships is the answer to everything. To train new FCs, you lose ships. The best part is losing ships.
Neo.
Yeah.
The thing is that you are in a game which is PvP based.
Yeah.
The PvP based game. It's a part of the game to lose ships, man. I've been in a few, not too many battles in Eve Echoes, and I've seen so much cry out because they lose a ship after that. Why? this is the game. This is how you have fun. If you are only here to win, never lose, then sorry, this is not that game. Any PvP game, not just Eve Echoes. Okay? I mean, any game which has to around PvP, you will lose. Of course, you will lose.
Right now, I have 15 ships in my hangar in P7 Tech 4. And I have about 3, 4, 5,000 liquid ISK or something. It's literally nothing. So when I lose all my ships, I can feel those who are afraid of losing ships. But hey, it's still a game. I got those 15 ships somehow. I just have to do that process one more time. And it is a MMO. It is a grinding game. And you never beat it. You will never be the most wealthy player. You will never have the most ships. You will never have the best skills ever. It's just the way the game is built. And as Raw referred earlier on in this meeting, the only way to beat this game is to quit it and never return.
Yep.
Which means we are all a bunch of losers.
Yep.
Basically, yeah.
That's okay. I'll be a loser with y'all.
I think we enjoyed it too much to quit it. Otherwise, we would not be here.
Yeah.
We have the fun. We have fun along the way, and that's what's driving us to play it. And
I think speaking to the players who is in that situation, like you were talking about, you lost all your ships, or you lost a really expensive ship, and you have no more saving, no more ISK. That's why we have corps and alliances and friends, right? We're all here to help. And in the future, we're working really hard on building an alliance SRP program, so losing ship will not be a hit on your wallet, so to speak. Right?
Losing a doctrine ship will not be a hit on your wallet.
Yeah.
A doctrine ship in an alliance approved situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't just go start getting yourself blown up being stupid, please.
Well, I think Aegea, we had a discussion a few days ago.
Sorry, Captain.
As we evolve, there will be different fleets. There will be different things to do, and the way to, like we had in the Goons, as long as you are in a fleet with a approved FC for the Goons, you are taking part of the SRP program.
Yeah.
If it was to roam or hit a station or defending
individual, let's say,
if you are in a standing fleet, it didn't matter as long as the FC was approved. You were inside the SRP program with doctrine ships.
Okay. Yeah. I think we talked a little bit too much about FCing. Let's talk about when you're not FCing, what are you usually doing in game?
I guess this is just an open question, Leon. So if I'm not FCing, most of the time I'm either station spinning, which is no longer fun, or I go sit in a belt with a long-range, high-power ship, and I just start hitting people at 100 kilometers out that like to go and terrorize our miners, because that's fun for me. Mm-hmm. But with this latest patch and being able to maneuver your ship prior to coming out of invulnerability, station spinning is no longer lucrative. Mm-hmm. Prior to that patch, I would sit in my probe with about 2200 scan res, and I would lock even pods trying to get out of station down and prevent them from actually doing anything. It didn't matter what ship they were in. I just sat in front of the station, locked them down, and terrorized them for hours upon end so that they didn't enjoy the game. But since this past patch, it's no longer lucrative. It doesn't work anymore, so I just go sit in belts.
Losing your
and a lot of that, if you go sit in a mining belt a lot of times the miners will talk to you. They'll send you a private message and you can just chat up people there, or you can sit in a Discord group and have a bunch of people go sit in mining belts, and then you get all of these people like Suzanne Pirate and a few other names, Minx. I know that a lot of people will know those names. If you just sit in the belts while you're chatting with people, talking to people on Discord, then you can be effective on the security front, as well as you can continue having the social aspect of it. And I think that's mostly what I do outside of FCing in game, but my in game time is few and far between. So there's that.
Storm, when you're not FCing, what's your favorite thing to do?
Well, I use in game. I use a lot of time to fit up ships, just try them, see how things work, or I just jump into a frigate and start roaming to get myself known, know where to go fastest and how long it takes to walk from point to point. This or that I actually write down for habit, I don't know. But mainly my job or my game is on Discord these days. For every 10 hours I'm on Discord, I'm maybe 1 hour in game. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
And my job prevents me to be in game as much as I want to as well. So when I'm driving, I'm happy to just jump into a channel and chat with people. And I'm driving for all from 5 to 10 hours a day. I'm mostly just sitting around in Discord, chatting with people, trying to help them with their problems if they come with someone, or like me and Raw has done a couple of times, it's just discussion about what modules will work and not, why, how, when, and so on. That's fun for me. To have these discussions with people, especially when the other part actually understands what you're saying and what you are meaning about these things. So yeah, that's my game.
You brought up a little bit about like outside of Eve. Let's talk more about. You can share as much or as little as you want about your life outside of Eve. Raw?
Outside of Eve.
Yes.
So outside of Eve, excuse me.
Speaking of.
Yes, outside of Eve, I'm trying to see how much I can say about this without going into, getting people bored. Okay, so outside of Eve, I spend a lot of my time designing a hydrogen reactor, and I'm going to leave it at that. Beyond that, I spend a lot of time fishing. I love to go bowfish. I have many weapons and firearms and bows and otherwise that I take out frequently and hone my skills on those.
Awesome.
And I would say outside of Eve, there's not really any other games at this point that I've been heavy into, but prior to Eve Echoes, I was pretty heavy into mobile games in general, specifically because most of my jobs require me to be remote. I have to travel the world, and it's very hard to take your nice gaming computers and gaming laptops with you when you have to go halfway around the world. So mobile games became a big aspect of it. So I was really excited when Eve Echoes came out. Other than that, I love cooking. I love culinary arts. I love taking things that nobody would think to put together and trying it out, whether it's horrible or not. But that's how, you know, people started, especially with cooking.
Storm, you wanna share your
outside of Eve?
Yeah.
I have 4 kids.
Wow. I did not know that.
19, 15, 10, and 4 years old. I have an obsession with cars, so I have 7 cars right now.
4 kids and 7 cars.
Yeah.
You have many babies, I see.
Yeah.
All kinds of babies.
All kinds of babies.
Yeah. I have this company, which I'm trying to hold aloft. And I have a girlfriend that I try to come home to every time I have the possibility to do that. Yeah.
And I feel like we can do an entire episode just talking about your hobbies, both you and Raw, outside the game. But let's save it for another time. We're running really short on time. Let's get to our final topics about. These are questions from Alliance members. First one is about FC training. We had the university had our first basic FC training session yesterday. A lot of people showed up, and the most common question from that was just people asking, how does one become an official Alliance FC? I guess, Storm, you want to answer first?
Well, yeah, I can answer that. To be an Alliance FC, it's just that you have to be recognized by your corporation military leader and be put up in front of me or Raw to get approved as an Alliance FC. So most of the time when I'm driving, I'm just jumping through these channels. I'm driving night and day, depending on when the loading point is. It could be if I go from UTC times perspective, it could be 12 in the midday, or it can be 12 in the night, and then I have to drive for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. So my day varies a lot, and when I'm driving and have the opportunity to do so, I just listen into fleets and ask them some questions and promote them. So I recommend everyone to have their fleets in the Alliance channels instead of their own corporation channels. Because when you are in the Alliance channels, it is a possibility for me to jump in and listen and starting to grow our FC base.
Thank you. Raw, anything to add to the FC training process?
Yeah, so that question in general is kind of open-ended to 2 fronts. One being if you would like to become an Alliance fleet commander, the other being what are the steps to becoming an FC? I'm going to answer the latter first. So first step is saying, hey guys, do you want to go blow shit up? And then you get a group of people to go with you, and you direct them where to go. That's how you become FC. You literally say, hey, I'm going to go try this. Do you want to come along with? If I'm horrible, tell me what I did wrong.
Yeah.
If I make mistakes, help me along the way. And the more that you do that, the more involved that you become in fleet operations, the more involved that you make yourself, the better FC you will become. But just to become a fleet commander is literally just saying, hey guys, do you want to go do stuff? And then you direct them where to go. That's being a fleet commander. And just like anything else, you know, riding a bike, you weren't able to jump on it and ride perfectly the first time. So it's a skill in and of itself, a human skill. And the more that you do it, the better you will get. So the first step is just getting a group of people that are willing to go die for you and making that leap. If you put them in cheaper ships, they're more willing. I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
Fun either way. Mm-hmm. But as far as the Alliance Fleet Commander side of that question,
yes.
If you show initiative, if you show that you want to learn about being a fleet commander and you want to take that next step, almost every corporation, maybe not all, have fleet commanders. Not even just Alliance fleet commanders, just fleet commanders in general. Go sit with them, go join their fleets, go have a discussion with them. And if you send them a message and say, hey, I would like to learn more from you, and I want to be a part of your fleets just to learn from them, that in and of itself shows initiative. And regardless of if it's at the Alliance level or the corporation level, you are going to learn from it. So if you get to the point where you would like to or feel comfortable being an Alliance fleet commander, you can talk to your corporation Alliance fleet commanders. Mm-hmm. Most every corporation has 2 or more. And you can say, hey, I would like to do qualifications for Alliance Fleet Command. And then you would have to go set up your own roaming group, your own gate camp, your own activity, invite all of the people, make the event, and then that FC would what we call backseat you. Mm-hmm. So you would take the fleet out, you would perform whatever task that was designated for that, whether that task be we're going to go sit at this gate camp and blow stuff up, or we're going to go roam into a sector we've never been before, or we're going to go do a scouting op. I mean, those are even an option. And then the backseat will give you a grade. He will tell you what you did right, what you did wrong. And if he thinks that you are qualified to be an Alliance fleet commander based on your performance, he can go to Storm. And then if Storm is not a part of that initial qualification, he may request to be on his own fleet, or he can take what you said and basically say, yes, you can be an Alliance fleet commander, or here are the things that you need to improve before you become an Alliance fleet commander. And then you would go out on another fleet and prove that you learned what those things are. I think the biggest step of becoming a fleet commander, regardless of what level it is taking that initial leap of faith that a lot of people have a hard time doing. They don't feel comfortable in their own ships, much less directing a bunch of other people in their ships.
Yeah.
But until you take that step, until you decide one day that I'm going to go take my hand at being a fleet commander, you'll never get there. You'll get comfortable in your own ships. You may get comfortable bringing your ships on other people's fleets, but until you decide that you're going to put other ships in danger, regardless of what those ships are, because that is a fear factor. You have to get over that. You have to take that initial step and say, hey, I'm going to take charge here. We're going to try some things. It may not work, but we're going to have fun either way. And when you take that first step, it's just a snowball effect after that. You're going to eventually get into a group of people who think the same way you do, which is the fleet commanders. So you'll quickly learn what to do and what not to do by taking that initial step. Because until you do that, you're going to be afraid of it. And you have to get over that.
Yeah,
Does that answer your question?
Of course, yes. Excellent. Just to sort of summarize, you guys mentioned losing ships is the biggest sort of step to take. But I think you recommended earlier, right? You can just take on newbie ships, even if it's 10 newbie ships. You can still kill things and learn things. Go ahead, Storm. Sorry.
Yeah. But one of the most important things that you have to learn when you are FCing, I do think, is you have to know when the battle is lost, when it's just not necessary to go into that battle.
Yeah.
Your losses will be too grave, and you will not have any enemy casualties. On the other hand, so learn when to stand down, learn when to don't take the fight. That very, very often that's more important to actually take the fight and do the right things. That is to learn when you have to stand down, when do you retreat, when do you don't, when do you just don't poke the bear, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. I mean, that's part of the learning too, right? No, if you wolf one time, you're gonna learn the next time not to poke the bear.
You're not going to know when to retreat until you lose a few fleets.
Yeah.
You're going to get, you can take your ships out and you can, I would say a group of frigates can take out and destroy battle cruisers all day.
Yeah.
But you're not going to know what fights you can handle until you go lose your ships, until you get to that point where you've whelped a few fleets.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, well, now I know I need to stand down for this next fight.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. It's like Neon was getting to. It's go lose ships.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what ship it is.
Yeah.
Just go figure out what the bounds of your capabilities are in that ship. And the more that you lose it, the more you'll know what not to do and what you can do. And because you learn about that specific ship, you become a better fleet commander in the end, if that's what you want to do. You don't even have to start looking into the fleet commander role for that kind of thing. The more ships you lose on a personal level, the more you will learn about that ship, the more you will learn about battle, and the more you will learn what battles you can take and the ones you can't.
All right. Yeah, again, well said. So FCs, don't be afraid to take that first leap of faith and go lose some ships, right? I think what I take from this was we're going to do trainings where we'll just tell FCs to take out fleets, right? I mean, we'll provide backseat FCs to help them analyze and provide them feedbacks after.
The best training you do.
Yeah.
The best training you do is actually just go out there.
Yeah.
Take a bunch of people with you and go out there. Have fun.
Yeah.
Try to blow something up. And if you want guidance on that,
sure.
Tell me, tell Raw, tell another FC,
sure.
Tell Harlock or Aegea, hey, come join me, see how I do, tell me what I do wrong, what can I do to improve.
Okay.
And that's the way to actually do it. And try to pick, if you are running in frigates, try to big ships, try to pick them down. In that way you learn. And it's like if you try against, let's say you go out in T4 frigates, which we have used a lot, and you fight a battle cruiser. It's no problem to take down that battle cruiser.
Yeah.
You just have to do it the right way. And first time you lose, second time you lose, third time, it went a lot better because we actually got him down to hull before we died. So as long as you learn the process along the way, you will be a better FC. Understand the ship meta and what the different ships do and not do will bring you to be a better FC. When you learn which fight to pick and not to pick, you will become a better FC. It's a lot of aspects there that you need to learn to become a better FC, and the only way to learn them is to actually try it out. I can sit here and talk for hours and still you wouldn't have learned everything you need to learn.
Yeah.
Theory from practice always differs. I mean, theory, as Storm said, you can make it for hours until you do go in the battlefield and you try your skills or you try to sharpen your skills. And that's all the thing over there.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's talk about the issues with fleet forming. We've all seen how frustrating it could get. Maybe not for you guys, but for the general FCs who are doing the inviting. This is caused by, of course, the 10 players limit for fleets and the 100 players limit for in-game channels. One of the problem is that people have been Xing up in intel channels. And so that makes it hard to teach them after the fleet to not chat in these channels. It's also, again, it's very operational level, but what do you feel about this procedure? And have you considered using the fleet finders like we do in EO?
I think we changed that a bit, the latest, like a week or so, or less. We changed that, so they don't X up in Intel channels anymore.
Uh-huh.
I'll make this a quick answer for you, okay,
Sure.
Neon? 99% of almost every battle, especially on a large fleet scale, is us fighting the game because it is a cask of a game. It is a skeleton of a game. So the channels that they provide us and the ability to use the in-game channels being the only way that we can actually find other people. To your point, a fleet finder doesn't actually let you join the fleet. All it does is it sends a notification to the fleet boss or the fleet commander of that fleet and says, hey, this person wants to join your fleet. And that's it.
Yeah.
So during this reorganization of the military, there are a lot of things that are going to be coming down. That are going to be standardized, that are going to have standard operating procedures. And if you are a part of the military, if you are a general player, you will have access to some of these standard operating procedures, such as fleeting up. So look forward to a lot more structure, especially on the military side.
Awesome. Nice.
And for solving the actual thing now is if you have a group of players that you agreed that we played a lot together, you have your fleet. Just invite your friends on that friend list, and you have a fleet ready.
But that kind of precludes the people who don't have people. They don't have their group, right? They want to get into it and they want to learn about it. Where do those guys go? Where do those guys get into fleets? And that's where these SOPs are going to come into play, these directives, as far as we're going to give you a specific in-game channel that you can jump into, and here's how you do it. You get in, you X up, you get into a fleet, and you leave. And then hopefully we'll provide enough availability for these in-game channels for the time being, because my assumption is that eventually they're either going to destroy the game to the point where it's unplayable, or they're going to fix a lot of these issues down the line. So a lot of the issues that we have now are going to be fixed later.
Yeah. Makes sense. Storm, any more to add?
No, not another.
Yeah, and that's just like you said. Hope they fix the game, so we're not strangled by these mechanics
anymore.
No.
Because in EVE, you know how simple it is in EVE Online. FC creates a fleet, everyone uses a fleet finder, boom, that's
Maybe one day.
I think when they release the fleet skills, the fleet skill book, and the ability for, I guess, a standard of living for the fleet, a lot of things are going to change as far as how fleet dynamics work. So look forward to that. But again, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Yes. Awesome. All right.
Hope days last, man.
Lower expectations, but sorry.
I would say like this. If you're gonna get married, if you're not already married, just make sure your mother-in-law is not named Hope. Hope always dies last.
Oh my goodness.
Greek joke.
Oh
my goodness. Thanks for that, Harlock.
That's the wisdom.
All right, guys.
Captain's wisdom on life.
I actually have to start driving again now. I can continue, but without video feed.
That's okay. We're done with questions. Any last words?
Be safe,
Shoutouts.
Be safe.
Be safe. You can shut off your. We can listen. Last words. Shoutouts. Storm.
Yeah. I should down my camera and
yes.
I have to start driving. I'm still here.
That's okay. So any last words you want to say to the Alliance or to aspiring FCs, potential FCs, or to your friends? Shoutouts.
I'm putting together a fleet ops and FC training for Friday morning, it'll be 7:00 Friday morning for me. It is for our Aussie friends and kind of that side of the world. So if anybody has not had an opportunity to get a training, because I am East Coast United States and I don't like getting up early and I don't like staying up too late, I'm taking one for the team. So watch for that event. It'll be going up soon in the Alliance.
Did you say 7 a.m. for you, Eastern?
Yes.
Okay.
7 a.m.
11 UTC. 1100 UTC.
Yeah, I'm not good with time zones.
That's brutal timing for you.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
It'll be worth it to get more people trained.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Raw, any last words and shout-outs?
Shout-outs and last words.
Yes.
I would like to give a shout-out to my corporation, USSF. They have gone above and beyond on trying to make my life a lot easier because of the workload that I have working for the Alliance, and they have taken it and ran with it. So I love you guys. I'm nothing without you, and I appreciate all your time and effort for that. Final words. It is October. We do have Horde. I believe this Thursday you'll have the opportunity to come find and kill me. I can guarantee you that I will not make it easy. So hope to see you guys there.
All right.
And I guess final words as far as the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
We have something here in this Alliance that a lot of other alliances, a lot of other organizations, a lot of other corporations don't. And that is a us mentality. That is we are here to help better our corporations. We are here to help better our Alliance as a whole. And that is our driving force. That is what makes us want to be better and get better. And without that, we would very easily go down a dark path. So I am here for every one of you in the Alliance. I am here for every one of you in the corporation. And I have a feeling that every one of you are here for us as well. It's about the people. It's not about the game. If it were about a game, we'd go find a better one that has better mechanics and doesn't break all the time. But it's about the people.
Yeah.
So if Echoes becomes unplayable, we will remain. We will still prevail. We will still go into another game, a gaming community, if you will. We have already built that. That's there. That's solid, and we have that. That exists.
Agreed.
So don't be afraid to reach out if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you. I see Storm is driving now. Drive safe, man.
Press the horn, man.
Careful, Storm.
Press the horn, man. Press the horn, man.
Oh my God. All right.
Nice.
Awesome. Captain, any?
I'm actually driving in. I'm actually driving now in 550 miles per hour. That's 80 kilometers for those who live in Europe.
And your internet connection is still pretty stable.
Now I'm on the main road. I have half an hour left, and I start climbing up one of the mountains.
No.
Then my connection will be pretty poor. So, the climbing is for 10-15 minutes or something. Goes through a lot of tunnels, and shit. And when I'm on top, I will have good service again. So
that's all right. We're just finishing up here. Any last words?
for me,
Yeah.
well, I think it's important for everyone to understand that we are here for everyone.
Yeah.
No matter what your problem is or what you are trying to find a solution on or want to be a part of the community on a different level, we are here to talk to you. We are here to answer your questions. Maybe I don't have the capability to answer your question right there and then, and will put you forth to Raw or hire you or someone else that has the capability to answer you better on that question. But we are here for the players, and we are not here for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing to get out there, to get people to understand.
Awesome. Well said. Drive safe, man. Captain, you have any
Yes, sir.
shoutouts?
To everybody who is here and everybody who is in the Alliance, that thanks for everything, man. To my corp, that they are doing everything to help me also, most of the time, because I get busy suddenly too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I need help at some point. And they do everything.
Awesome.
Can I give a shout out to my new CEO, who is absolutely the bomb? His name is Crypta, and he has been a lifesaver. So hopefully, thanks to him and our new and revitalized leadership team, I will be seeing more of you in game, like actually flying a ship around and shooting stuff, which is what I'm here for anyway. And I want to give a quick shout out to Captain Washu, who now has a recruitment initiative going. If you haven't heard about that, check it out. It's amazing. And I hope he gets to be interviewed soon, because I would love to hear from him.
Let's make it happen. Yes. I have a shout out to Alb from Odin. She's going through a surgery. So yeah, just our prayers, and hopefully you recover soon.
All the best, man.
Yeah. All right. And that's it for the show today. Thank you, guys.